Our next vendor, Mr. Scott, come up and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you help people.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Nate Scott. I'm the author of the book Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth, which is a principle-centered, biblically-based leadership program focused on personal growth and entrepreneurship, specifically written to address the cash flow danger that no one is talking about. The fact that 77 million baby boomers are retiring based on cash flow danger, that 66 out of 100 people age 65 earn less than $30,000 in retirement, that 47% of people say if they had a $400 emergency, they'd have to sell something or borrow money to address it. But it's about how to think versus what to think. Every chapter begins with scripture, but then I say, so what? How do you take God's word and apply it on a daily basis? I cover leadership as the answer, the cash flow danger, it happened to me, become an entrepreneur, choosing the right entity, raising capital, asset protection, protecting financial privacy, reducing taxes, retirement planning, residual income retirement planning, estate planning, and life is rich. Family, I wrote that book to ensure that you have the ability to engage with those professionals that you may hire. I'm a former enlisted soldier, combat veteran, West Point graduate. At 19, when I walked perimeter during Operation Desert Storm, I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste of my life. So life is rich means live in wholeness every day. Realize I'm Christ here. I'm a former CFO of an E500 fast-growing company. I share that to let you know that you have a friend in someone that will gladly talk to you about maybe where you're building to. And I'm also a former wealth advisor who went into the business of financial services after making my first million at 32. And within a week of being in the business, realizing my background and experience, it didn't matter because it wasn't a job of actually making people money. It was a sales job. I had to have enough people saying I was a great guy. And it was in that experience that I realized that most people didn't have enough money, enough time, or couldn't get a great enough return. And so when I went through my Valley experience, where we closed our doors 90 days after achieving Inc. 500 Fast Growing Company 2 years in a row, from there, I went through an experience of divorce, market crash, and from that experience, went from 5 million to zero, from a 6,000 square foot home in Queens Harbor to a 10 by 12 room with no running water. So I shared that to let you know, perspective-wise, I know what it looks like to actually build and then come back from life lessons, life experiences, because we all have those things. And so again, my name is Nate Scott, here locally in Jacksonville. I invite you just to come by, you grab one of these white cars, have a conversation, because I want to connect with each one of you, because I see a way for economic empowerment if you allow me to actually maybe see what I can see within you beyond where you're at today, and paint a picture to you with real documentation of how a handful of us together can build something that I have documented over a 7-year period, earning over $34 million. No investment, no hype, no fluff. Just connect on a real personal level, and I look forward to seeing and celebrating each one of your success. Again, Nate Scott.
Mr. Nate Scott, can I bring you back up? Clap it up one more time for Nate.
Okay, this is a fun time. So I want to challenge each and every one of you to grab either your pen or your phone or something, because I'm going to engage with you as if you were someone that had done like one of my clients that's in here, who first received the book, and then from the book he reached out after reading the free chapter that I'm going to give to each one of you, and that caused him to have a client needs assessment, which you paid $1,500 for 2 45-minute sessions, and then receive something very tangible that he could actually go and deploy in his profession. So my promise to you is this: if you lend me your ear, I'll give you my heart. If you lend me your ear, I will give you my heart. First, make note of this. I don't want you to leave out of here and not have this information. I want you to text JB to 904-544-7424. Again, text JBCC, which is Jacksonville Black Chamber of Commerce, to 904-544-7424. When you text that, it's going to ask you to add your contact information, and then at least you're in the pipeline, and I know that I met you here at the Jacksonville Black Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be able to provide something special for you. because it's my heart's desire to truly, in this season, raise our people up. Because now's the time for us to do something very intentional and very deliberate. Life expectancy of women is 81. Men is 76. So take off 10 years. I want you to do this. I don't want to walk here and stay the same. So we're talking about 71 if you're a woman, planning-wise. We're talking 66 if you're a man, planning-wise. So how old are you today? And how long do you have if you're a woman to get to 71? How old are you today if you're a man? And how long do you have to get to 66? Family, I bring this thing here like this because when I was a wealth advisor, what I realized was that people didn't have enough money or enough time or couldn't get a great enough return to actually reach their goals. And I'm like, I can't share these particular products because I know what the person is trying to accomplish. And fortunately, I was in the business on my own financial terms, and I was there to actually help people. And you know what I talked to them about? Entrepreneurship. Because that's what allowed me to transition from the military in 2001 and knowing that I had a window of time that if I didn't take action, I wouldn't have a history of income, so I couldn't get financing on real estate. So I took action before I transitioned fully. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Haven't even read that book. I heard of that book. At least Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. And then in reading a book, I just pulled two concepts. And I want you to leave here today with these two concepts. Number one, just know that there are quadrants, if you will, in which income and earnings. You got to ask yourself, what quadrant are you in? I would assume most of you are, if you're business owner, you're absolutely in either self-employed or business owner. If you're a W-2 employee, then you're in the E quadrant for employee. So you got E, employee, S-E for self-employed, P for business, and then I for investment. Now, here's the thing that changed my life, though. It was the flow of money difference between the poor, the middle class, and the wealthy. This one thing right here will forever shift you if you really get this. The flow of money for the poor is income to expenses and out the window. Income, expenses out the window. The middle class go income, liability, and every liability has an expense. And then it's out the window. And that's how you can have great titles, and you can have degrees, and you can have a big home and all those things, but yet be one paycheck away from growth because of the debt that's associated with it. I know that firsthand. I know what it looks like. But here's the key. What shifted things that everyone in here can do, from the youngest babe to everyone can do this thing. It's having a pause button. Where you go income to asset, to create income to asset, to create income to asset. And you can play a game with it. Because all I'm talking about is just have a pause button before you spend it on something that's not going to give you something back. And this is the secret to us doing something collectively. Because I want each one of you to know that you are the asset. You are the asset. You're the treasure. And if you understand that, then you'll sow into that treasure so that you can get a return. When I bought that 40-unit apartment complex, what I saw was an opportunity to do something and add value to it to increase that net operating income, which then allowed me to go back and refinance and then pull stuff out. So many people think about these big things and they think about, I got to do this and all this. No, take it from somebody that's done it at these different levels and done it successfully. I'm saying you can start from where you're at. Every one of you that's now doing something entrepreneurial, I love that family back there. You're doing right now, you're giving what God has given you, and now you're turning into it. Because here's the secret. Money follows value. See, what I want you to know is that we all have a household economic system. That's a trademark. That's intellectual property. That's not something that I'm repeating from someone else. Household economic system. And I just want to show you how to treat it as such. Because you have income that comes in, then you got taxes that go out, then you got fixed expenses, and then you got consumption. Imagine if we intentionally did something with that fixed expense category and that consumption category that we did together, and as a result of making an intentional act for our personal benefit, not just to support or just to help, but do it because it makes financial sense with your wallet as an input, and then create something that allows you to create an extra $10,000 in totality for the entire year. I want to help as many people in this room earn $10,000 in 2026. Could anybody use an extra $10,000? It doesn't sound like a big number, and a lot of times, that's $10,000. I make such and such attitude. Let me bring perspective. Because sometimes I pop my collar and stick out my chest because I hate when people don't want to embrace someone that just loves them. $10,000 to put it into perspective. If you're a W-2 employee, does anyone have just a full-time job right now? Okay, cool. Don't be embarrassed from that, because I tell every entrepreneur, stay with your job if you can, if you like it. Use that. Because I teach people to build their business with systems so that you don't leave your job and then own a job. Why do that? If you're a W-2 employee and you don't have your business attached to it, you're paying at least 40% more in taxes. Dang. I'm just simply saying, let me tell you what they're not telling you. Start a business, because if you don't have it along your W-2 income, you're paying at least 40% more in taxes. It's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. That one structural change can shift up everything. You got a 25-year-old that has a full-time job out of college that you're excited about. If you get that one thing that I'm giving you tonight and get that person established into a home-based business, then recoup $4,000, $8,000 annually and put that away and then invest it, get 8% return. Talking about 1.8, 1.9 million by the time they're 65 without new income. So family, that's a simple idea with no hype, with no fluff. Because the two biggest expenses that people pay are ignorance and taxes. Let me say that again. The two biggest expenses that people pay are ignorance and taxes. Ignorance just means you don't know something. That's all. We're all ignorant. I'm ignorant of some things, but you know what? I'm curious. I'm willing to get some answers from people and to find out and confirm or deny. If you're willing to be curious, I'm willing to ensure you're not ignorant. And I do this from a health side as a former personal trainer, but my life changed in 2018 when I read the lung damage study that said cleaning your home just once per week with certain products, bleach, ammonia, scrubbing bubbles, Pine Sol, Lysol, Fabuloso, has the equivalent impact on your lung capacity as smoking a pack of cigarettes per day for 20 years. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia. I grew up here and don't smell like bleach is not clean. Right. My mother-in-law is a breast cancer survivor. My father-in-law passed away from pancreatic cancer. My grandmother passed January 12th, 2020 of the bowel cancer. And my wife's sister passed November 1st, 2020 of the bowel cancer. Family, I just felt convicted. I made the switch 3 years earlier in 2015. I made the switch to green, natural, non-toxic, eco-friendly products. But I just did that because I saw a way to show people how to implement what I teach in my book. Because I was invited to speak about Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth, heard a presentation about a company that I thought was an MLM or direct sales company, and that was interesting to me. But what I realized when I was speaking was that it was not the company's fault that I'd gotten the wrong information from the people. Because the people that looked like you and me were giving the wrong information, and unfortunately what happens was we oftentimes would do that. We just go into stuff without that other stuff and learning. But when I got it the right way, I immediately said there's a way to actually help our people do collective economics. If I could show them how to save money, save time, and get better quality products, then we can do that whole thing about the Target, lockout, and all the things that we like to do, buy black and all this other stuff. Let's do it owning some stuff. If 10 of us in here, if 10 of you take my offer of learning how to make an extra $10,000 in 2026, we got $100,000. 20% down for a multi-unit. I ain't talking about theory. I done did all that stuff before. We got real estate in here. I happen to be a member of FCAR. I'm around nothing but real estate professionals. How amazing would it be for us to come together and instead of buying that single family, buy that multi-unit, and then from there create that asset that creates income, to create an asset that creates income, and then from there take that and slice it on down the fence, man. We got sis back there that bought some land and she doing what she doing. She already got the bills taken care of. What's up? We can have some fun. And I'll close out with this. If you're interested and open to the idea of really working this chamber and actually making this an economic system within our community as an impetus for other things that we can do, where we don't have to worry about grants and things getting cut and not getting those funding sources. If you got a nonprofit in here, by the way, let me know if you got one, because I got a funding source for you where I can speak. If I can impact the community and they say yes to things I say, that nonprofit can get 5% revenue for the reps to take care of whatever they're doing. So imagine that. I'm willing to go to work for you as a nonprofit to cause your organization to generate revenue. And so I close it out by simply saying this. You are the asset. It's about how to think versus what to think. And it's about alignment before assignment. This is a season right now that I'm committed to like-minded people who want to make money, who want to make friends, who want to travel the world, who want to be healthy, and who want to grow. If that resonates with you, I welcome the invitation to connect with you. Definitely in the book, because again, that's going to speak to all the other things, but that's going to open up the relationship where we can do some things, because I ain't trying to take no money from you. I'm trying to give it away. So again, thank you. And I'm going to hand it back over to
What was that number again? What's the number? One more time, and maybe the tennis.
text JBCC to 904-544-7424. Again, 904-544-7424. And by the way, I'm a certified AI consultant, so again, there's a lot of other things that if we get into a relationship, there are things that could probably make some things happen.